3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
All right, this episode is not going to be like any of the other episodes. I just read the dumbest fucking book I've ever read in my life.
Man.
No. At the first 20 chapters.
You were all jacked for this.
I know. The first 20 chapters, the credibility was up here. I got to chapter 21, and everything she said previously to me is bullshit now. I'm going to explain this.
I'm going to believe in all of it.
Yeah. All right, today we're talking about aliens. I read a book by Annie Jacobsen. It was supposed to be about Area 51, which pretty much all of it was.
What's the full title?
I'm not even given the full title on this. I refuse.
You don't want people to even acknowledge this book's existence.
No, because of this. All right, the first 20 chapters, there's no signs of aliens in the book at all. Mm-hmm. It basically talks about the actual history of Area 51 and what they actually did there. Now, I get to chapter 21, and we'll talk about Area 51 too in that book, but I want to get to this first. I get to chapter 21, and has everybody heard of the Roswell UFO crash in 1947? Mm-hmm. It's a pretty big one.
Yep.
Okay, everybody thinks the government covered it up. They found a space shuttle, weather balloon, either way. This is her theory. She dismisses the alien thing altogether. Stalin. I'm talking about Russian Soviet Union Stalin. She says that Stalin was inspired by Orson Welles' novel that turned into that radio show, War of the Worlds, that scared everybody. So what he did, he enlisted a German doctor, a Nazi doctor, that if you know a lot about World War II, you might know this name. His name was Joseph Mengele. He was known as Dr. Death. A little bit of backstory on this guy, so the theory would kind of make sense, I guess. He was a Nazi doctor in Auschwitz. Mm-hmm. Auschwitz was a concentration camp, and he was one of the cruelest, unhumane people on the planet. He would do science experiments and experiments on all these kids, especially twins. He would do horrible things to them. On his second day at Auschwitz, he's recorded of killing 1,100 people on his second day. And last thing, so
not a great dude.
Not a great dude. Last thing, so everybody here, there, realizes how fucked up this guy is. If a woman, a Jewish woman, gypsy, have you not, would be in the concentration camp, they would get pregnant. She would be the one to sometimes deliver the baby. Now, what this guy would do is he would deliver the baby just fine and then cut off the breasts of that woman so she couldn't feed her child, and she had to watch her child die. That's how fucked up this guy is. So, this Annie Jacobsen's theory is that Stalin got his help, and he created, they were children with misshaped heads and oversized eyes. And this UFO was remotely controlled from someone else, and it had these children inside, and it crashed, and that's what they found on that guy's farm that day. Not UFOs.
It all makes sense.
Not a weather balloon. 2 fucking kids surgically enhanced to scare America.
Those sneaky bastards. That's exactly what happened.
No, I feel like aliens are just way more realistic.
Right?
Yeah, I thought she was gonna lay out a great timeline of Area 51 that we hadn't really heard before, and then it was gonna be like, here you go, take with it what you will. I didn't see a drastic Russian conspiracy theory coming.
I know, right? The biggest red flag. Well, one of the red flags. She has a source, but she can't name her source.
So does she have any facts? Or this is what she thought up?
I have no idea.
Wait, so she just has the one source of the entire entire theory,
of that theory, just one source.
but she can't name.
No, he was an EG&G engineer.
Well, that's where Bob Lazar was, EG&G.
Exactly, but like I could go out and say some EG&G engineer told me fucking Hitler's alive still. You know what I mean? Like, and he's an alien. Hitler was an. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you
There's
could
no way
say
to back up
exactly,
the source.
and that was on chapter 21.
Okay, but how many? Like, where is that at in the book? That could be halfway, or that's the very ending, or where?
That's that's like the last of the book.
Like that's the climax.
That's the climax of this book. Like
That's
she talks about like legit stuff.
Does anybody else does anybody else carry that theory, or is that like a widely held?
Every time
Belief?
I would Google this and type it, it was people like trashing her about this. Because when I did more research,
So
on
there's
this,
not even a niche group out there that are like, yeah.
I'm sure there is now that they read the book. There have been people who believe anything.
Okay.
But I like her theories on like Area 51 is the story she's told about them like creating the nuclear bombs and stuff. She said things like Harry Truman didn't even know that existed until he was sworn into office. Congress didn't know that existed until we bombed Hiroshima. This is what this book is throwing at me. So I pulled more resources than this book for this topic, but this book is trash.
It sounds like an M. Night Shyamalan movie where it's got some weird
It
twist.
it sounds
really
like
does.
she was saying Stalin got inspired by War of the Worlds. I think she got confused. I think she got inspired by War of the Worlds.
So there was just some twins that they're remote controlled, and they
Well, not the flying saucer is remote controlled. And at the end, she does say that the people, kids, aliens were comatose. They weren't dead. They were comatose.
What does that mean?
Like in a coma.
They were basically knocked out.
Okay.
So basically, we're led to believe on that they were taken back to Area 51. And I believe Bigfoot's real, and I don't even believe this shit.
I feel like it'd be easy to determine that these aren't aliens. These are just deformed children.
Exactly.
Yep.
But there is also a theory to go along with this that the Nazis did create some type of flying saucer, which there are some like legit records.
If
I've
you
heard that
look back
before.
at the like timeline of all of space travel, Nazi Germany would have been the worldwide leader of space travel.
We're the Nazis are the reason we went to space.
That's exactly right. Werner von Braun, Operation Paperclip. So basically, Operation Paperclip is right at the end of World War II. There's the greatest scientists in the world just sitting in Germany now, not with a home to go to. So Operation Paperclip was sending in our guys to basically recruit away their best scientists. And the first rocket that ever even went into outer space wasn't from the U.S., wasn't from Russia, it was from Germany, Nazi Germany. So his rocket ultimately is the same rocket that leads us into space exploration and the arms race.
Yeah, like they had amazing technology. I'm not doubting that one bit. A lot of countries stole a little bit of what they did. But this theory is a little much. Like, it's a little over the top. Like, we went through aging the first episode, how we can be immortal. We went through, we're all in a simulation. That shit is more believable, like 100% believable than this story.
Well, I mean, what are your thoughts on then just aliens in general? I mean, does she even talk about extraterrestrials in the previous section of the book?
Does she even believe in aliens?
I don't remember her saying exactly whether she believed or not, because it was literally more about the history of Area 51 and the cover-ups of the weaponry that we created there. But her basically saying that she disproved the alien thing about 1947, the Roswell crash, by saying that, I don't see how she could.
How good would RC even be back then to control a spaceship in the 40s?
I have no idea.
Well, I mean, if they can launch nuclear weapons at that point and pinpoint them in the United
but
States,
control a vehicle remotely?
I don't know.
I don't know. That's a giant leap from like. I think I would have just stuck.
That's
with the
so
aliens.
disappointing that's where she led.
Yeah.
So what does she think then is going on at Area 51? If it's not extraterrestrials, and it's
Just
not,
us building advanced weaponry.
okay.
Those things like the nuclear bombs and
Mhm.
those things we did. Stuff that is a little more believable.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe there's stuff like that going on at Area 51 that they're not talking about. They can't talk about it.
Yeah, I would doubt that they test fly anything out there now because it's like the most popular secret base in the entire world. I mean, you don't know anybody that doesn't know exactly what Area 51 is and where it's at. So they couldn't really test fly anything because people are watching it all day and all night.
Yeah, because, well, kinda, because, I mean, you got to think, nothing's allowed to fly over that zone. You can't fly over it all. I mean, you can get kind of close to certain areas of that base, but in reality, Area 51 is just one part. In full spec, it's literally the size of Connecticut. Like, Area
Wow.
51 is huge. I didn't realize it was that big.
I
know
didn't
it was
either.
that big. I knew it was big, but
I in the book she says that there are 1 through 30 other sites, and some of those numbers are mysteriously missing. I think that just is kind of a conspiracy theory type thing. Well,
I didn't realize before that Area 51 doesn't just describe that base. Area 51 is an entire network, like you're saying, of different bases.
right. And then, just to give a scope of what did happen at Area 51, in 1951, and on orders of Harry Truman, 105 nuclear weapons exploded on top of the ground, above ground, over 800 below ground in different tunnels to test these bombs.
Wow. That is on record, or that's just
That's record. Like, that's the kind of stuff that went down on Area 51, like those kinds of tests.
Jesus.
Wow.
I'm surprised there's anything left.
Yeah, but as far as, because I don't want to, like, more or less on this podcast, this episode, I wanted to dive more into the idea of, is there life out there, or are we alone? I mean, I will dabble in Area 51 like I just did,
Sure.
but more or less, right from the get-go, what's your thoughts on aliens? Do you believe? What's your theory? What's your own theory?
I am completely 100% convinced, simply from listening to Bob Lazar. I've read listened to most of his autobiography. Him and David Fravor, you have somebody that's claiming he's a scientist, and I have nothing to prove otherwise that what he's saying isn't the truth. In fact, a lot of the things that he was saying in the 80s later became answers to physics questions later on. And we keep finding out more and more stuff through the years, that stuff he said back then that we couldn't verify, we can verify it now. And then David Fravor, both of these guys have excellent Joe Rogan podcast episodes. I would strongly encourage listening to both of those.
Is he the pilot?
I think he's a Navy pilot, but he is top rank of top rank. And there's a now public video that CNN and all the major networks were playing whenever it was revealed that there's actually a government agency that for years has been studying UFOs, has a very small budget, but there's one on record. But it's this Tic Tac shaped vessel that he describes as being like about the size of like a boat. I think he says it's maybe 40 feet long, and they're out flying. They being I believe he's Army or Navy, whichever one. And they're doing some test, flies with the Marines. And the Marines apparently had known that there was these unidentified flying objects in this vicinity in San Diego. They didn't let, I'm wanting to say Army now. We'll go with Army the rest of the show. They had not notified the Army that these Tic Tac shapes had been out there for some time. Well, they go up and they're about to start this test or this training routine, and they spot these Tic Tacs. And so they cancel the whole training, and Fravor and one other ship go after these Tic Tac shapes. And he gets within a half a mile. And in a plane, a half a mile is like from me to you away. That is no distance. And as he gets to it, it just completely vanishes out of thin air. And so they're flying around looking for this thing. Where the hell did it go? They're looking down at the water. Did it just go straight down? Where did it go? Well, apparently in that level of flight training exercises, they're not given their next point until a certain time. Well, he's given his next point, and they track it on radar. And I didn't know this, but radar isn't a live stream. It's not like a video. It scans, and it can be a 20 second or 40 seconds before you can pick up something.
Yeah,
if it's moving that
kind of like
fast.
sonar.
Yeah. So he gets his next point, and they're like, that fucking Tic Tac is right where your next point is.
And didn't the Tic Tac jam their radar?
I don't know that it jammed it, but like if you've seen, and maybe we can show a picture of a screen clip of this video. But in the screen, I mean, you're seeing for miles each way, and then it has the Tic Tac locked in, and they're looking at it, and it shoots off of screen, and it looks like it's taking off, and that's impressive. But they're saying for it to clear the entire screen that you're looking at, it would be like to a magnitude of 100 or 1,000 times anything that we have. And there's no, you'd be able to see the jet plume, shooting out fire out the back in this infrared video. When it takes off, there's nothing.
So it's using an energy that we've never even thought of, most likely.
Yeah. Well,
it's not using jet fuel.
Did you listen to the Lazar podcast?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's basically describing it as a anti-gravity machine that's about the
like
size of a basketball.
Bending space-time or something.
Yeah, so if you have a machine that can alter gravity, you can alter space, you can alter time, all of the science theory shit that we've read about for years, maybe except for turning Russian twins into aliens. All that shit, though, becomes on the table. You can literally bend space. So if I'm trying to get from here to here, rather than traveling this entire way, I'll just bend time or bend space,
like
and all of a sudden I'm there. It's some wild. You're listening to it, and everything Lazar and Fravor are saying just so matter of factly, and they're kind of like, believe it or not, I really don't care at this point. I'm just describing, my account. So take with it what you will.
Brad, what's your thoughts before anything? Your thoughts on it? Does life exist, and if so, how do you think it exists?
It absolutely exists. There's no way. There's just the probability of nothing being here, nothing intelligent other than us, with all the planets that we've discovered now just in our solar system or our galaxy. I mean, and then there's thousands of galaxies that we can't even see. And then what gets me is like, okay, you see this star that's light years away. You're seeing that thousands
70
of years.
yeah.
Like, you're
Yeah,
not
a lot
even
of
seeing
a
it.
lot of the stars we see, I believe, I hope this isn't bullshit, are between 50 and 100 light years away. But yeah, you're seeing light that was emitted
thousands and thousands or millions.
of
But-
years ago.
No, there's that. What gets me is, are there other intelligent life that can travel that far through space? Maybe there is, and I hope there is, but that's where it gets kind of hard because Like it feels like we're at our limit now as traveling, which I know we're not, but it just feels that way. And just to imagine something like you're saying with this tic tac bending space time, that just sounds.
Well, so many of the videos, and it, like Lazar has been consistent for 30, 40 years now. He's described the exact same scenarios. And how often do you, when you hear a UFO story, you hear, and then it was gone, or then it darted over here, there was lights here and here. It makes perfect sense. They're just bending the space in front of them to get to A to B. They're not traveling like we do in a car.
No, they're doing some Chris Angel shit.
That's right.
I get it. But you were talking about the space travel and how we can't get there, and you hope somebody can come here. I have something to go on to that. Did you either one of you know that they are currently testing a submarine called Orpheus? What they want to do with this submarine is send it to, I think it's called Europa.
The moon.
Yeah, it's a little background on Europa. Europa is the smallest of the 4 Galilean moons orbiting Jupiter, and it's the closest one to the planet. See, this was new to me.
Oh, wait, this is the Earth lookalike planet.
No.
This is in our solar system. This is, what is it, Neptune? Or
Jupiter.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's one of the it's one of the 79 moons, which interested me because I didn't realize Jupiter had 79 moons. Like, how the fuck does that work?
I'm not following. It's sending a submarine to.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's got frozen ice on it. And they think that there's like oceans underneath the ice, right?
Yeah. This submarine is supposedly the size of a backyard grill that weighs 500 pounds, and they're testing it to go to the deepest parts of our oceans to see if it would be possible to send it to this moon, break through the ice, and be able to go down in the water and discover new life there. And that goes on my theory of what I believe aliens are. I think we humanize everything too much. We automatically think aliens, big head, 2 legs, arms, hands. But I think proof of aliens is in our oceans. To me, that would make more sense of intelligent life on other planets. I mean, there could be humanoid type creatures on other planets. Sure, I don't know. But to me, if you look into our oceans, look at the fish, the animals we have in our oceans right now, and tell me that's not alienistic. We have fish that produce their own electricity.
Fish.
We have fish that have their own radar, their own sonar. How is that like just normal to us? And we don't take that as alien.
Yeah, but there's so few planets out there that we can find right now that have anything resembling water.
See, that is true, but who's to say? I mean, this is out
It doesn't
there.
have to be water. It
Exactly.
could be methane. Like he said, we're humanizing it. We think you got to have water, salt, and all this, but not necessarily. There's some kind of like, it's like a bacteria or a microorganism. It's called like a water bear. It can live in space for like, I forget how long.
It's I actually got it's called a tardigrades. Tardigrades, I think it is. Now it's called it's called it's not called a fish. It's called a micro animal. That's how they describe this thing. And
It
this
just swims in the air.
I believe it's found in water. It can live on land, but they have brought it to boiling temperatures. It lived. They brought it to freezing temperatures. It lived. They put it through radiation. It can live up to 1,000 times
Where
times
did they
more
find
radiation.
this thing?
See, I couldn't find any exact. It was sometime in like 1773 by a zoologist, Johann Goes. I mean, he's a German, so I'm assuming they found it in Germany. I can only find snippets of this
Nazis.
because this, yeah,
Fucking Nazis at it again.
because this is the last thing I researched. I just happened to come across this out of nowhere.
But yeah, that like there's one planet where they have oceans, but it's all methane. So like we think animals have to live in these oceans of water, but they could live in anything.
They adapt
Yeah.
to their own specific situation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that makes sense.
and like yeah, we've sent sent things to Mars. We can see Mars. We've been to the moon. So we've been to those two spots. So we're assuming that because we can't live in only certain areas and we can't live without oxygen, we can't live without this, we need this, that every other thing in the universe, if there's anything out there, can live on that. So we're seeing planets and thinking, well, this has this, this, and this. We can never live on that. There's no way anything's alive on that.
You know, that opens up, like, you know, the Goldilocks, like where the planet has to be from the star,
Yeah.
where they think life can exist. But
Mhm.
like what he's saying, that
It
might not
says
even
who?
exist.
Yeah.
There could be stuff on Pluto right now. We just
Yeah.
can't get there.
Mm-hmm.
That opens up every planet. There could be stuff on Mercury boiling.
Well, I mean, we're just talking about a super finite amount of space just within our own solar system.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, but I mean, if you open that up,
what was the star system that Lazar was saying that his craft? He was briefed that his craft came from the. I'm going to butcher it.
I don't know.
It's something reticuli something. It was like 137 light years away, and that's where his government briefing was describing that the craft that he was working on had come from.
Well, that was another thing I was going to say about how I said, is there intelligent life? But we think about like humans have only been here for however long you want to believe they've been here. But say that a civilization of whatever alien started 2 billion years before us. Imagine, well, you can't imagine how advanced they would be. So like when they're traveling at space-time and we can't even understand it, it kind of makes sense. Or even
Little fun fact about Bob Lazar I found out while doing a lot of this Area 51 stuff.
Oh man,
Area 51 was hidden from the public until 1989. Bob Lazar is the reason people know about Area 51.
Absolutely.
It was just on some news channel. He was doing some interview with somebody, and he said it right there. This is what this is.
Well,
This is what your government's hiding.
you've
from
heard
you.
the backstory of why he had to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he was, you know, folks that are listening, I know you guys know exactly why, but he was at a point where he had to either come public with what he had found or he was afraid for his life, basically. And he knew that the guy that was before him had died in some sort of accident working on this reactor. And they were like, well, how come, you know, that didn't become public? They're like, well, we just sweep that on. You know, they didn't say that. They're like, we have ways to manage that. So Lazar could have been murdered in the Nevada desert and nobody would have ever found out.
I mean, how many people have ended up that way? How many people know these
Right.
big secrets that, fuck, Roswell was real. It wasn't two little kids in that thing. It was real aliens. Done.
Yeah.
I mean, what are the kids saying nowadays? Epstein didn't kill himself?
Yep.
I was just
Old Hillary shows up.
But I feel like the sea creature theory is a little more easier to grasp for myself, because when you start thinking of the aliens we see in our head, we humanize them so much that it's easy to put them as that's myth, that's fake, like that's movie stuff. But if you look into the oceans and really look at these fish, like the water bear we were just talking about, how did that come to be? Like, we're supposed to be the most intelligent, like, creatures on the planet. We're humans. We're above everything.
Mm-hmm.
We can't do half the shit some of these animals can do. If we're so advanced, what does that make them? Why are we so advanced? Because we can talk? Because I got thumbs? I can hold stuff?
We can manipulate our environment much more than they can, but who's to say that they're not manipulating their environment isn't a better way of living?
their way is more sustainable. They're not hurting the environment.
I mean, we
That's a
we
good
assume like dolphins are intelligent. Yeah, dolphins are pretty intelligent, right? We assume sharks and other whales, they have some certain intelligence, but we almost think of it as second nature, things they do just out of habit. It's not that they know how to do these things because like they've seen it, they've invented the ways. it's because it's passed on and they just know how to do it. Like when my German Shepherd gave birth 3 weeks ago, she just knew
She
how to
exactly
do it.
what to do.
But we just assume that's just second nature to them. What if they learn just like we do?
Yeah, our dumbasses have to raise them all the way till they're 18 and
I know. I'm
hope
about,
they don't get hit by cars or fucking meteorites or
she's
whatever.
about ready to get rid of her kids in 4 weeks. Like we can, and even
And they'll be good. They'll be good to go. They know
even
exactly what to do.
other animals. Speaking of that, other animals was 18's the basic before you're grown up, not grown up, but you can move out the house. You're
Yeah.
legal.
Yep.
What's other animals? Cheetahs, monkeys. What 2 years, 3 years tops?
Yep. Go do your thing. Go,
Exactly.
Go live your entire life.
Some of them
You don't
never
need
even
me.
have parents. They just get dropped off at the beach. Sea turtles.
Yeah.
They never even have
That's
parents.
true. I thought you were talking
And-
about
and-
kids.
Well, Joe Dirt. Got lots
And
of
they
them.
come right back to this. They can travel thousands upon thousands of miles, come
Yeah.
right back to the
the
same,
same
beach.
spot every year.
So what?
Man, we're dumb as fuck.
I know.
Yeah, we are.
What gives us the ego to think that intelligent life mirrors us?
That's a great point.
I mean, my book would be fucking way better than hers.
Start writing, man.
Yeah, I ain't got that kind of time. But what's your guys' theory? We'll go back. We'll go way, way, way back. What's your guys' theory of the big thing that's always been on aliens? How the pyramids get built? How Stonehenge get built? What's your architect? This is you. What is your theory on that? Do you think people could have built that stuff by hand with the tools they had? And those pyramids are still even putting it up to today's standards. Those pyramids are still some of the most precise structures ever built, and they built it with the naked eye, a piece of string, and a star. That's how they line those pyramids up.
And slaves that probably weren't
And
educated.
slaves.
Yeah, those pyramids have, there isn't just a space for the king or queen or whatever royalty for their burial inside of those pyramids. There's also an enormous space where the master builders of those also was buried, and they say that there was like 10,000 laborers per pyramid. And so when they show, I forget how far it was from where they got the stones to Giza. I don't know how in the world you put I think were they 2 tons each block?
Yeah, something like that.
Like
They were-
I was thinking
3,500, I think.
They were heavy fucking blocks.
somewhere between that, like 3,000 and 5,000, I
Yeah.
think.
like a size of a full size car. We're talking.
Dragging them.
No
Yeah.
wheels.
And sand.
Well, if you have unlimited labor though, and you're able to if you have like something like 200 guys pulling on each stone, that breaks down to I think like 100 between 150 and 200 pounds you're pulling each. And then that's just raw. And then they also had a whole series of men that are pouring water in front of the stone as it moves, and that reduces the friction coefficient in half. So you would be at like 100 pounds each. So is it obviously incredibly difficult to do? Yes. Is it theoretically possible for man to do that? If you have unlimited labor power, you can do a lot of shit.
See, but we're also talking about our thinking now. Like we're thinking of all this stuff now. Well, it'll take this many people to do that. You know what I mean?
Well, they have cave drawings though,
Right.
of how where they're pulling one of their grand statues.
yeah. But what blows my mind even more is the precise building of this thing. And this was 2,000 years before Pythagoras came up with his triangle theorem.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking. This was well before mathematics was even a thing. And these people were able to build a 3D triangle.
Yeah,
See, I'm not talking so much about the labor of it. I understand that. Just the advancedness to be able
The architecture
to,
of
to
it.
construct something like this without having these tools we have now. With a string and a star.
Yeah, and they're like directly under these stars, right? They're like
Yes.
perfect.
See, that's
Like,
the,
couldn't
Yeah,
get
I
any
mean,
closer.
I mean, it's unbelievably impressive. Yes.
You give me a string and a star today, guess what I'm doing? I'm doing this because I can't do anything with a string and a star.
Yeah, but you and 10,000 of your closest friends could do some mighty cool shit with it.
How do you take it up?
Well, they said that they can build these ramps they would almost be as magnificent of a structure as the pyramids themselves, though. That's where people
This would take 10,000 years to build.
they would have to. That's one of the big things is how could that be possible? Because they would say that they had to have laid, I think it was one giant stone every 3 seconds for something like 50 years. That's hard to get past.
How did they cut these stones? That precise. No way, dude. It was aliens.
See that's the part of it. That's always bothering me. Not so
It's
much.
aliens.
Not so fuck it. See you next week. But that's not so much like what's bothering me about the manpower. Because let's say aliens landed here. Then let's say I don't believe that, but let's just say they did. And even aliens would have needed manpower to build this. But what kind of a mind? And I'm not saying there weren't smart people back then. I'm sure there was people way more brilliant than I am. Way more. But the kind of mind it would take to create something like this without the tools it would take to create it, that's what blows my mind. I tried to find as much stuff on this as I could, and of course it's all just theories because I mean you can't ask them.
Yeah.
They've been dead for thousands of years. That's what's always blown my mind about this.
Well, I've heard they've found like structures like, I guess like cut stone that would be hard to replicate today with today's tools. Is how precise and how perfectly square everything is. Makes no sense.
Yeah, that's wild. I don't.
And that was thousands of years ago.
Right. Yeah.
Here, let's go a little conspiracy on this. Let's back away from facts for a minute. Let's
Because
go
we aren't deep enough into.
little more conspiracy. I want to know: do you think we went to the moon?
Yes, but I think we faked the fuck out of a bunch of footage to make it seem even more ingrained in people's minds.
I don't know. I'm split on it. Because we were rushing last minute. We weren't ready to shoot it. And they just shot the rocket like, screw it. Let's try. See what happens.
But see that goes into it. If we never went to the moon, are we really going to Mars right now? Is that real? Or did we go to the moon?
My boy Elon is going straight to Mars. Yes.
Yeah.
NASA. I don't know about NASA.
No. NASA never went. But what if we went to the moon? We went to Mars. They found something. But let's dumb America down a little bit. Let's record this. Let's make our own. Let's get a director in here. Let's show them what we think the moon should be like to them. Let's give them what they want to see.
We've never seen half of the moon. The general public.
I watch Transformers. I've seen it.
But I mean, there could be a whole civilization back there.
No, come on.
How?
We've been to the backside of the moon.
We've
Have
flown
you seen
around,
it?
Yeah.
but it's dark. Like we can't see.
They probably take some lights or candles or whatever, some kerosene
You know,
torches, maybe.
But that is a good theory. Like, what if on that side that we haven't seen, what if there are creatures living there?
Come on,
No,
man.
listen.
How do you know?
They've been to the backside of the moon.
Yeah, but
And-
that doesn't mean
and-
they've shown you.
Yes, I can look right now and find it.
Yeah, some fake.
Oh, come on.
But
What if it's underground?
If what's underground?
Life. There's space moles.
I guess there could be. They're just hiding from the
Well, what about the
camera.
thing that just came out about Mars that they found in this cavern? It was like a whole report of this lady reading off what they were seeing. And they were seeing like statues and like places, like living dwellings.
What?
Dude, there's been all kinds of reports of them finding like pyramids, and NASA blurs out the image just that one spot somehow.
I haven't heard about this.
Yeah. I can't go into it, but There's all kinds of like pictures that NASA's released from that rover, and like there'll be one spot that like you never seen the face.
No.
They found a face like it's almost buried, but you can tell it's a face. And the only thing in this picture it's blurred is around his face to make it kind of look like a rock.
Did you ghostwrite
What?
that book I just read? That sounds fucking nuts.
It does, but they found like pillars, like monuments, like obelisks. Like there's pictures out there of it.
I gotta see. I haven't seen any of this.
The face is the easiest one.
Well, there's something ingrained in our
Yeah, there
psychology
is.
where we
But
see
there's
faces.
also pictures of pyramids.
That it's a fucking triangle. Like
No, like a lot of pyramids, not just
those are mountains.
not like 2 pyramids, like at least 4 or 5.
Okay.
Oh, I messed up. What's your Wi-Fi password? I'll mute this out. They won't hear it. They won't hear it. I promise.
I mean, they can't steal it anyway. Little Lemon 268.
Poor planning on my behalf.
You're good. Mars face.
Yeah, right
Holy
there.
shit.
Tell me that's not a face.
I mean, yes, it
Look up pyramids.
resembles a
Look
face.
up pyramids.
Is that this probably?
Yeah, it's a face.
How have I never heard about this?
No, come on, man.
Look up pyramids.
No, I'm not buying this shit.
Dude. You can't just look up the
What
first...
about that is a pyramid? That it happens
I'm
to
not
have
talking
3
about that.
sides?
Type in pyramid, not just the one picture.
Well, it's right next to the face thing.
Yeah, forget the face. Just look up pyramid.
Like legit. The face they found was this detailed.
I don't know. I haven't seen one that detailed.
Okay, if it was that, I'd be like, well, what are we even talking about? Alien fish? We got one right there.
See that's the problem. Like somebody could literally be sitting in front of you telling you an experience with an alien or UFO they had, but
Okay,
with
this-
all of this bullshit and discredibility out there.
Is this what we're talking about?
I've never seen one that clear, but yeah. That's probably fake.
Yeah. Hey, I found Bigfoot on Mars too. What do you know?
No, Bigfoot lives more in the Colorado region.
I always figured Washington.
Okay, my bad. Man, you know it would have been a sight to see with the pyramids though was when there used to be a white limestone face to them that was perfectly smooth, and they thought maybe like a golden top. That would be like the most amazing sight to see, just a pristine white triangle in the middle of the desert. I mean, now it kind of fades into the landscape now,
Yeah.
but it would look like a diamond sitting there half buried into the ground.
Well, there were 2 astronomers. I gotta look up their names so I'm not messing this up.
Well, what'd they do in the meantime?
Turnbull and Jill Tarter. They have discovered over 17,000 nearby stars that can most likely support life. Like, and we're talking those kinds of numbers, and we're saying that nothing's out there.
I feel like that's the minority opinion these days.
That people thinking there's nothing out there. You think most
Yeah.
people think there's something out there?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think religion
Really?
holds a lot of that back. And the boomers.
And Turnbull was saying that most of these stars are probably over 3 billion years old. I don't know how they can exact science that where a star way the fuck out there is 3 billion years old.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure they got a piece of paper that tells them they're
How
smarter
old
than me.
is our sun?
It's young compared to a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
But they can probably tell by the fuel that's already burnt. Like by the size and how much it has.
Check the gas gauge.
We're looking at about 4.6 billion years. So I guess it is
Oh.
plausible that there are stars out there that are 4 billion
Yeah.
years old.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
I-
What's the universe? Like 7.5 bill? Supposedly.
And there is actually a lot of theories out there that says that there are underground refugees on Mars.
That's what I'm saying. There's even theories that we came from Mars.
I mean,
There's a big, like, I don't even know how to describe it, but it looks like a big electrical bolt hit Mars's face, and it like spider webs out. There's like a big scar, and they say that it looks like a nuclear bomb hit. So like there was a nuclear disaster. We had to rush off. We had to go to Earth because it was the closest thing. Like we're going back to Mars now.
I gotta look that one up too. I feel like we're just saying things.
I'm saying things that I've seen.
Mars nuclear blast.
See, nuclear war is the first thing that pops up, and that's all going to be fake.
It's just a bunch of mushroom clouds and Martians.
See, but a lot of these alien theories, I mean, isn't it really just people saying things?
Yeah.
I mean, we could look for all the facts we wanted.
Except for David Fravor and Bob Lazar. They're the only ones that I've ever heard that without a shadow of a doubt, I'm leaving there going, yeah, everything they said is factual.
But they, at the same time, they could be just total con artists.
No, they can't because they have multiple other folks that are claiming the exact same thing. And Commander Fravor's in the military. He's the highest of the high military. And there's evidence of it. There's video evidence.
Yeah, but
And-
we don't
and
know
the
what that
ship and the-
TikTok is, or Tic Tac.
Yeah, the Tic Tac is behaving exactly how Lazar explained that one of these ships would. He was saying, you know, we always picture a flying saucer flying flat like a disc, like a frisbee, right? Wrong. They have the reactor basically points the ship up on its belly and points at where it wants to bend time or bend space, and that's where it jumps to. So when you're watching the Tic Tac videos, you're seeing them lay still like this. And then they're like, okay, we're going to go start messing around with these guys. The thing sits up on end, just like Lazar explained it would, and it jumps.
So why? Why are they here?
I can't answer that.
How come-
Checking in on their pets.
Checking in on our simulation.
Exactly.
What
Like,
about-
oh, aren't they cute? They're down there trying to figure out whether to legalize weed or not.
What about the 1977 WOW signal?
I don't know anything about
You
it.
don't know anything about it? It was detected by Ohio State University telescope.
It's wrong. I trust if UC did it.
I don't want to get this facts wrong. Let me
What is this called?
the WOW.
We got a signal from space, right?
Yeah, it says in August 1977, an Ohio State University radio telescope detected an unusual pulse of radiation from somewhere near the constellation Sagittarius. This 37-second long signal was so startling that an astronomer monitoring the data scrawled "Wow" on the telescope's printout. OSU.
So out of that whole story, he gets the name of the
Yeah,
whole operation
yeah.
because he said "wow."
Yeah, he wrote the shit out on a piece of paper, like he like signed it. Wow. What else do you call that? You're not sitting at OSU with a telescope thinking, I'm gonna find some fucking aliens tonight. No.
That's cool. I had never heard of that.
Yeah, I heard bits and pieces about it, like when I was younger. And then I know Russian scientists, 2002, say a mysterious radiation proof species of microbe may have evolved on Mars. This is coming from Russia, and Russia's never wrong.
Wow, you just trying to appease him right now, or trying to work your way off a list?
But I think this has something to do also with that water bear we talked about, because they're saying Russians zapped the population of bacteria with enough radiation to kill 99.9%, allowed the survivors to repopulate before repeating the cycle. So they basically knocked them with 99.9% of radiation, and they were still able to repopulate.
Wow.
To me, like, trying to gather facts on aliens is about nearly impossible because it's just people talking.
Well,
Like,
I think we knew going in that it was kind of a risk, and that's why we were we were hoping that book was
Well, yeah,
more,
that's why I read a
more on
fucking-
an actual history account.
I downloaded an audiobook that was 16 hours long, and then last hour of the book, Stalin, Nazis, like, fuck you. Like, really? They're lucky I got that one for free.
So I'm going to go ahead and guess you're not going to recommend this one.
I'm not going to recommend that book. I do recommend researching this topic to everybody. Dig into the pyramids. Dig into the ocean part of it. Dig into the Bob Lazar part of it. See what Elon Musk has to say about it. Like, if you truly believe that there's nothing out there and we're alone in this universe, then you just need to just keep letting our government spoon feed you everything, and let this world spoon feed you everything you want to hear.
It's going to be a slow meal too, because it's not something they're willing to talk about.
It's something that everybody needs to realize. And this ain't me pushing an agenda, because I'm not saying exactly what's out there. It could be just bacteria out there, but there's something else out there. We can't be the only thing out there. It's impossible.
Yeah, it's more improbable that there is not something than that there is.
Why do you think they hide it from us?
I think it's because the government loves to have control so much that the thought of this one thing that they kind of know about, but they can't really control it. They can't really say exactly what they know is going on in Area 51 or wherever. I would guess that there's more places that we have never even heard of than there is Area 51. And they're like, well, what are they going to come and tell us? Like, hey, found this thing that we don't know really anything about.
I mean, what about a theory that maybe governments aren't as all power as we thought they were? Maybe there's something out there that's more powerful. I mean, if you is that something you would want to keep from your people, knowing that there's something out there more powerful than them that they can't stop if they decided to be like, fuck Earth?
Right.
Yeah.
And then one last thing that we didn't touch on. This would mean that we have, the government at least, has seen aliens, has conversed with aliens. If you think from like 1947, when the Roswell crash supposedly happened, the technology advancement in the past 60 years.
Right. Yeah, it's very odd how there's this big push right after World War II all the way up until about the moon landing. And then, there's some piddling around right after that, but the Cold War ends, in the early 90s, and then there's been very little major developments up until that point.
All we really hear about
it's like it comes to this halt.
Yeah, all we really heard about that time period, 1947 on, after the war ended, is this amazing technology that we picked from the Nazis. All this technology that they were creating.
Right.
Victors write the history. What's to say what we really found during that war?
It's true. And have it stashed away somewhere in the desert or in Antarctica.
Fuck. That's where it is. That's where aliens visit. That's why we're not allowed there. That's like we're not allowed to own land in Antarctica.
Antarctica was a quality high thought. I can't wait to talk about it.
We gave it to the aliens. The aliens own Antarctica. They own the land. They live there. Polar bears. Do polar bears live there?
Yeah, but I think they only have like the one triangle of ice and they're just floating around. That's how all of them live. They're not actually on any land.
What if polar bears are aliens? Like, what if that's aliens?
They're actually super advanced.
And that little triangle of ice you're talking about is the shit we see flying around all the time. And that's just where they park it.
Yeah.
That's a good stopping point.
Tic Tac is just made of ice.
What do we got going on next week?
We're going to talk about my favorite topic, automation, next week. I cannot wait to make you guys upset with that one.
I just rambled on for 50 minutes about aliens.
Well, as few facts as this one had, this one is like almost entirely data driven. So it'll be a nice yin to this yang.
So you're telling me I'm going to be doing a lot of sound.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I'm staying away from that. But I think what we're getting at with this one is you don't even necessarily need all these people telling you what's facts and what's not. If you gather your own information and you have a theory about something, just because you don't have all the scientists and all the people saying, well, that's credible, that's right, doesn't mean you can't have the idea and doesn't mean it's not right.
I learned something this week.